Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it!
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what can we tell you? We are, the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, United Wrestling Network, various independents around the world. Welcome to all you people in the chat right now. Hey, look, it's Lamb Son. I'm a Lamb Son guy. How are you? What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Haven't seen Lamb on the chat in a while, but talk to him on the Discord just about every day. Good to see you, my friend. Speaking of friends, this is Dave Scooby, our fantasy booker down here. How you doing, Dave?
Doing well. Getting ready for the holidays.
Yep, it's about that time, unfortunately. What about you, Jeremy? How you doing?
Wore out, man. Wore out.
Yeah, been a long week.
Yeah, and it's only half over.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to always like to say that Wednesday's the worst day of the week because you know, by Monday you think, well, you know, maybe this week won't be as bad as last week, but you know, by Wednesday, you know that's not true. Yeah. And until you get to lunch, you got more than half a week left, but you're over the hump. You're over the hump now.
I love your optimism.
Yeah, well, I'm a Canadian. We pretend we're optimistic, and to the rest of the world, when secretly we're not. We've just given up. Mike is here. This should be interesting. Yeah, this should be interesting. This one today, we got a bit of controversy around the NWA to talk about again. Right off the top, let's just see who's here. Willie Bowen, the flag bearer of the Other Alliance Guys podcast, always here. Good to see you, Willie. Was just in your state the other day. Loving the highways in the Detroit area, all fixed up. Who else we got? Who else we got here? Speak up if you're in the chat. A lot of this is me. God, well, Lamb is here. We know Lamb's calling me dog. I'm Timmy Grind now. Dog. What up, dogs? Devin Dowling is here. Hey, welcome, Devin. Good to see you. That's right. Tim just explains the purpose of Wednesday realization. I'm sorry to break everyone's back on that one. Today we're going to talk about Effy's comments on William Patrick Corgan and the NWA. We're going to talk about some NWA highlights and lowlights from the show last night. Not the full recap. That comes tomorrow night with the OGs, the Alliance Guys, on Thursday nights. That's Jay Cal himself with his right and left henchmen, DKM and Jaden. They'll be on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. to go through all of Power for you. But we'll give you the highlights. And Jeremy will catch us up on what's going on with the UWN. They've got a return date we can go over. And Dave's got some fantasy booking around Joe Alonzo and whatever happened to Jamie Stanley. So there you go. Hey, Unseen Shifter is here. And Dodi Kusamanto. I hope I didn't butcher your name, Dodi, my friend. Who cannot wait for the newest NWA reality show, Tyrus Cooling Experience at Food Network, the infamous top 20s Billy's proud of. Yeah. And the boss is here. Good to see you, Jay. He's got a full house here, so rather than just drone on about it, why don't we just get into it? And I almost want to say, kind of get it over with. But as we all know, in the last few weeks, there's been some various controversies around. Here it is. That's it. We can move on to the UWN stuff now, Jerm. So there's been some controversies around the NWA. There was some reporting solely by House of Wrestling .com that Billy had signed 2 network contracts with the CW, was not corroborated by the NWA or by anybody else. And then again, more reporting, I believe from that same source, that those deals were now in jeopardy because of the NWA Samhain pay-per-view. And the one thing that everybody in the wrestling world is talking about out of the NWA more than anything else, the Cocaine Gate segment, as I've been dubbing it recently, with Father James Mitchell up on the stage with the, quote-unquote cocaine, and how that may have cost him. So there's been a couple of other things here and there, more, I don't use these in real life. I swear to God, it's only when I'm on this show.
I do.
Do you? There's been reporting about all kinds of things, and the NWA, I thought very wisely, guys, had been stand mute on all of this stuff. And then today, the latest, I'm going to use the word controversy, comes from this man right here. Independent wrestling star and GCW staple Effy, who I believe has been ranked as high as number 77 in the PWI 500 at one point, usually falls somewhere in the mid-90s. He was on his podcast, Weekend at Effy's. Now, I think for context, it's important that if you're not familiar with Effy, he is a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and his wrestling persona is very much bent that way. And I use that for context because of what he said. I'm going to read it verbatim. This is from Fightful.com. On his podcast, Effy said, "You know what I told Billy Corgan? I said, go fuck yourself. They asked me to come work NWA. They begged. They had multiple people call me to come work NWA. You know what I said? I'm not helping you. They said, Tyrus isn't here anymore. You know what I said? You leaned into what Tyrus was doing, which was hate speech and Fox News bullshit for such a long period that it fucked you, and now you want Effy to come in and fix things and go a PR job? No, I'm not helping you. I don't need you. I'm not helping your company look competent. Then what happens? You blow your TV deal with the CW because, the GCW guys are all smoking crack? Is that the rumor going around? No. The NWA guys are doing fake cocaine live on the air and getting pulled off of Fight TV and losing their TV deals. Oh my God. You want Effy to come in? All right. Well, guess what? It's as easy as giving me $50 million. You stupid, dumbass piece of shit. Go be a rat in a cage, dumbass Billy Corgan, you fucking loser. End of quote. Straight from Effy. Well, Jeremy, I'm going to go to you first before, and then I'll come over to you, Dave. But let's go to the chat just for some of the stuff here. Oh my God, Tim cursed. Yeah, man, he was quoting. I can't wait to hear the positive things Lamb says about the NWA if there are ones this week. Of course there are. Yeah, Doty says Effy's comment sounds like he's a piece of shit himself. Mike says, I gotta look at Mike before I I did not. I trusted you, Mike. Wait, help look competent? No. A lot of the stuff Effy does is not competent for a laugh. Wrong way to handle this, whether Tyrus is there or not. Jeremy, what do you got to say about Effy's comments to Billy Corgan about coming into the NWA?
We're all entitled to our personal opinions and how we feel about situations. This is how Effy feels, and Effy, if nothing else, is a passionate individual, especially when it comes to wrestling. I applaud Effy for standing up for what they believe in. Whenever I heard this, it immediately made me think of Eric Young, who said, if Vince is back in the WWE, I am not back. I am not with the WWE. I'll go back to Impact and play. And that's exactly what he did.
Right.
And I applaud him for that. You know, it more power to you. There are individuals that don't have that luxury. A job's a job's a job's a job. You know, Effy does have Effy does have the luxury of being one of the hottest indie guys around at the moment. He's constantly booked. I don't agree with everything that he does in the ring, but I respect his hustle, and I respect his love of professional wrestling. I do agree that there were better ways that this probably could have been handled, but I wasn't the one handling it, and I wasn't there. So,
yeah.
I'm not devaluing anything that he said. That's how he personally feels, and you can afford to do that, bro. Awesome.
Yeah, I think those are good points. You know, Dave, is any news good news? Like, is any time you're in the news?
I mean, I myself, I've seen Effy work. I don't get into all the intergender wrestling and all that kind of stuff. That's just me personally, and it may be an age thing that I'm older, and I look at it as it's a sport. Granted, it is quote unquote choreographed, but you still can get injured doing it. But it's one of these things that if you follow Effy and GCW and Effy's big gay brunch and all that kind of stuff, hey, more power to you. Wrestling is what you decide it is.
Right.
So I follow tons of different wrestlers. I personally don't follow Effy just because it really hasn't clicked with me yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm giving it time. If I see something, I'll watch it. If I like it, okay, cool. I may watch more. But it's one of these things that I hadn't heard much about Effy. And now it seems like Effy is almost using what happened with the NWA being in the news to, oh, well, hey, somebody, an unknown person or a source perhaps got a hold of me and asked me to do this. Well, there's no proof in the pudding yet. It seems like Effy is almost using the NWA to get in on the hearsay.
Right.
So it's one of these things of, I really have no clue what goes on at a lot of these different wrestling organizations. I don't know if AEW does drug testing. I know WWE and NXT do that. But if people are getting to bitch and moan about all this other stuff, just make it straight across the line. if you want to wrestle, you have to take a drug test the day of the show.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if you don't want to follow the rules, you don't wrestle on our show. But it's one of these things of, it was done in poor taste, but we just have to move on. There's so many different things. I mean, if you listen to Busted Open, last week they did some of the worst booking. And this week they did some of the best booking in the history of wrestling. But it's all subjective. It's your own opinion. It's not, oh, this made so much money, so it should be ranked number one. No, It's everybody's opinion. And while I don't agree with a lot of the things that the WWE does or AEW does, I'll watch what I enjoy.
Right.
And personally, I mean, I love the NWA because I have a history with the NWA going back to when I was a kid. I don't agree with everything they do now, but I'd rather watch it. And you're basically sifting through a bunch of rock to find little flakes of gold that you can collect. Oh, I like this. I like this. Like this past Power, I didn't like everything that was done with the spectaculars.
Right.
Search for but there's certain points where I was chuckling to myself, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
I was the same way. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
So it's one of these things of just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. And I think that's why you're a big MLW guy, because you get everything. It's a perfect microcosm that everything in wrestling is there, and you can just not watch the parts you don't want to see.
Yep.
Eric Dale. Hey, Eric asks, who's Effy? Have I seen this Effy? So probably. So Effy is independent wrestler, GCW staple. He is the I'm going to say creator of Effy's Big Gay Brunch, I believe it's called. He markets himself extremely well. Controversy is his thing. He's got a great entrance. Is to any given match that he'll go into. I see people online who think he's a decent wrestler, and I see people who think he's not really anything to see once the match gets going. But he is very popular, and from an independent standpoint, and kind of like Matt Cardona, who arguably got his start, being Zack Ryder, and then kind of built off that as an independent. Effy's been able to, in his, I'm going to say, without doing the research, because I think he's in his early 30s, 10 or 12 years wrestling probably, right? Or maybe 15 tops, has just independently made himself very popular. And so when you are able to jump on some of this stuff, like he did, that's part of, I kind of wondered if that's part of his brand. By the way, as I say that, we kind of do the same thing. This is something that came up on the air. Now we're talking about it. It's content. So if it's content for Effy, we should also recognize it's content for the other Alliance guys as well. When I first heard it, for me, I thought, I'm like, it's a work. He's probably going to show up in the NWA in the next little while, right? And then I kind of saw a couple of other things online as well. I'll throw one of them up just for Eric. This is Effy. I'll throw up his photo there again. That's him. And then here's a tweet that came out not too long ago where he wrote, "I will never apologize for my Billy Corgan rant on the podcast this week. One of the dumbest men in American history. Why do they always choose wrestling to stick their greasy fingers in?" And then Maureen Tracy, who used to work for the National Wrestling Alliance, until I'm going to say probably 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half, I would think at least, chimed in to say he literally and actively tries his hardest to ruin good things and great talent in the brand he fucking bought. So some angry thoughts there, and I thought, okay, there's some legit heat here. So the chat is active. I'm going to go through it in a second. for my take, I'll say this, and I think it's important again for context to say I come from the viewpoint of while I'm almost 53 years old, and I sometimes don't always get the terminology right. I'm an ally, and I tried my hardest to remember that. I have a child who is bisexual, and I'm very proud of her for not having any fear, or that she's growing up in a world where that's really not so much a problem for her as it might have been when I was younger. And I'm also not right wing like perhaps Tyrus is and Fox News broadcasting. My take, however, is that I don't think Effy's right. So if you're ranting about how he's being asked to save the NWA after the Tyrus era, I don't remember Tyrus ever making a political rant on NWA programming. He was playing the character, the Manster Tyrus. And, I thought within the confines of the NWA, not being a guy who watches Fox News, I thought he did a pretty good job. And I didn't, the only leaning into it that I thought that he might have done, Mr. Corgan, is having the 10 pounds of gold and before that the TV title on Fox News, which if I had been the owner of the NWA, I also would have leaned into. There's an opportunity to show your title off.
Yeah.
To a big swath of the country that is more than likely past NWA viewers.
Sure. And so I find it a bit head shaking that he would, claim that Tyrus was a proponent of hate speech, which are words that he used in that rant. I never heard hate speech, and Canadians, I'll tell you up front, we listen pretty hard for hate speech these days as a country. And I kind of thought this was just controversy for controversy's sake.
Yeah.
And that's pro wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
It certainly can be. Anyway, I will go back to some of the comments here that I've sort of let go. I have put some up, but I'm going to go all the way back because there's lots here. Doty's I put up, Mike's I put up, Matthew Underwood, he spelled it all out in the Discord, the Alliance Discord. It's in the link is in the YouTube page write up for this show. Please join. Virtue signaling nonsense. By the way, that's the point I was trying to think to myself. I think that, and I'm actually going to give Matthew Underwood the credit here for pointing this out for the first time I had before I'd even thought of it. We're talking about an organization that has not only a non-binary wrestler on their roster, but as a champion, one of my favorite wrestlers overall, to be fact, and that is part of the Impaler's character. Max is not a female nor a male. Max is a force of nature, right? We have Pollo Del Mar appears on this show. She is a creative director, I think, for the magazine, and obviously has been talent on the screen. You could throw as a character Gags the Gimp into that particular thing. Billy hasn't embraced, in my opinion, the right-wing nature of Fox News. I think he has given everyone a voice and the opportunity to say what's up. And again, I'll shut up now by saying I think it's controversy for controversy's sake. And again, that's pro wrestling, and that's what everybody does. And kind of like what you said, Jeremy, more power to you. Say whatever it is you're going to say, because here we are all talking about it.
And I liked what Dave had to say as far as, this is it's also the NWA is in a news cycle right now. They're getting a lot of attention. So it's smart to lean into that and say, well, I told Billy Corgan, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to work for you.
Yeah.
You know, you get slid right in between those stories about the NWA losing their CW deal.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, I agree. This is great controversy off something that, you know, may not even be true, right? With the whole CW stuff. So, some talk about Rolando. Just disband the Spectaculars and let Rush on his own or another partner. Devin says no, he's the GOAT.
They were on This Is the NWA Monday night.
Okay.
And I asked them, how do you go about applying to be a spectacular? Because I think I'm pretty spectacular. And while I'm not big on the bow tie thing, I you know, give me a shot. I'll throw Rolando around the ring a little bit, you know. Never got a response back from him. So fuck him.
You should have come on, turned your camera on with a little bow tie, Jeremy.
No.
Yeah, just light bands tonight. That's all we're doing. I guess we are. Notice that the Dice Man likes the Effy video. Disappointing that given Billy just brought him back.
Ziggy and Effy are very close friends.
There you go.
Very, very tight friends.
Yeah, more power to you. That was an unintentional pun. I love Big Trouble Ben Bishop, and I haven't seen him in forever.
Right.
He's got such an upside, and he's so young, and like there's a lot of stuff that can be done there.
Captain of the Meat Pop Express.
There you go. Dodie says, if we should hate a wrestler for political reasons, do we need to cancel WWE? The McMahons are literal friends of Donald Trump. Linda sat in his cabinet, and of course, the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yep.
We got to have a segment queued up so every once in a while where we can just show Stone Cold giving Trump the stunner. It's only fair, right? The segment, Noob and Co. says, with the Spectaculars is fun. However, we saw Mercurio like I said, he got the Mark Merrow treatment while Natalia Markova is getting pushed as a star.
It's so true.
Yeah.
They stabled him out.
Yeah, it's true. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk about it now, but it was a lot of fun for me. I think you kind of alluded to it, Scoob. Like, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea, the Spectaculars looking for a new member, but it was kind of amusing in ways like I like watching Rush Freeman like eat shit from his boss right there on the screen, right? I don't even know if it made good TV, but here you go.
We got to see Casey Rocks again.
Oh yeah, well, okay.
Where the hell have you been?
I think he was at 75 when we were there. I think he was working backstage right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the Effy story. Thanks for everyone's comments. It seemed, I think we kind of echoed what has been, the chat has been saying, but take a look in case I missed anything, and sorry if I did. Let's move on to NWA Power highlights and lowlights. One of the matches, the first match actually, Colby Carino versus Mo Jabari. Jabari is trained. We're told he's been trained by Lance Storm and Bret Hart. And Joe Gatley surprisingly says he has a win over Kerry Morton in Canada at Dungeon Wrestling, which I thought was really, really neat.
Yeah.
To hear. I think we are. I know we already talked about this, guys. I don't think either one of us had. Any of the three of us have ever seen Mo wrestle before, but I thought it was a decent match. What did you think, Dave?
Overall, I mean, it was a good match, and I did like at the end. Colby is Colby, but he's trying to be not so much a baby face, but show his appreciation that the crowd has embraced him. He's a junior heavyweight title holder. He's living his dream. And until he either gets scooped up by the WWE, let him do his thing here in the NWA and out on the indies. But him turning and refusing to shake hands, you're almost creating a baby face where I'm not going to say he's not a baby face, but you're defining what position he would be in a match, good or bad.
Right.
Well, Mo turned his back and wouldn't shake after the match. So basically, you're seeing what was, you're almost organically turning Colby into a baby face, even though he may not seem to be a baby face.
Right.
But the thing is, if he was from Dungeon Wrestling and Kerry's been up there, and you do know who their current heavyweight champion is, don't you?
I do. That would be, yeah.
Mr. Adonis, Chris Masters. Well, what would you think of Dungeon Wrestling being part of the NWA?
I think it would be an interesting choice, and yeah, I'd be for that.
Well, I mean, it's one of these things of you have an established brand in the Hart family, and this is Dungeon Wrestling says it all.
Right.
That is the Hart family. So if they can pick and choose and get a bump with NWA tagged in, I think it would be a good thing. But just seeing some wrestlers from all these different organizations getting a chance to come into the NWA, whether it be TV tapings or pay-per-views, I'm all for it. I'd like to see more of Jabari if they do go bring him back, because I mean Alonzo's already gone through it. Now you have to rebuild him. I'll talk about that in fantasy booking, but that was a hell of a match at Samhain with him and Colby. But now you have to build up a couple other contenders to go after that junior heavyweight belt.
As soon as he didn't shake the hand, I thought, oh, that's good, because it means he'll be back. Otherwise, there would have been no reason not to.
Yeah.
So that's good. Lou says, yeah, wants to see an NWA pay-per-view in the Dungeon venue. It got me thinking about how they don't own the Hart House anymore. That got sold a long time ago. And hit me up at some point, Lou. There's a great story about Bruce Hart was like up on the roof trying to break in when the house was actually physically being sold. But anyway, Matthew Underwood says, should the NWA target the Carolinas as a territory? If so, who? I don't know. In the Carolinas? I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
I have no idea.
Shout it out in the chat if anyone has any ideas. What else? We got we had a podium interview. Yay! We had which I thought was a highlight. La Princesa Tiffany Nieves. I think I'm saying it correctly.
Yes.
She did a decent promo, Jeremy. I thought for the taping it was a little over the top, but hey, welcome to pro wrestling. What did you think?
It was good. She's OBW.
Yeah.
So she's got experience in front of the camera already, and that did show through. Very to the point, precise, didn't stumble on her words or anything like that. Seemed like she knew exactly what she wanted to say, and was able to get it out. I enjoyed it, and it was nice to see the podium back.
It was nice to see a new face, so to speak. Like, there'll be lots of them in this episode of Power 2, including Dave, the debut of the King Bees, who get a title match against Pretty Empowered in their debut. What did you think of them?
It was nice having an actual tag team. By watching the match, they worked well together, but they're still finding their footing.
Yeah.
So they're a newer tag team. So once they get some more experience under their belt, I myself, I mean, I've never wrestled, but watching them wrestle, they almost seem to be waiting on something to happen, that they're not acting and reacting to each other as you would naturally. It's like they're almost trying to remember what to do next.
Yeah.
But I will give it a decent rating in that they worked well together. They look like a tag team. They just need to get that experience. They just need to repetition. And that's the only thing. It's not like all of a sudden it just clicks and they're a star. They need to just get used to working with each other, and down the line, I could see them possibly coming back. And if there's ever another Empowered type, whether it be a pay-per-view or event or a taping that they have, I'd like to see them involved as well.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they'd stick, like matching gear. Like, they're a tag team, right?
Yep.
Decent young wrestlers. I thought that Bees was a bit better than Charity King. She went to the body slam a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny because it was weird too. Did you guys hear that crowd ovation? Like, did they just bring their families in with them because they went nuts?
That was an impressive reaction. I was like, oh wow, that place sounds like it's packed to the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it was the loudest chant I've ever heard.
It would have been nice to have seen them.
Yep. It would have been nice to have seen him.
I agree on that. And I mean, they did get a good reaction.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we don't like Pretty Empowered, so we're going to cheer for the other team.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. And I'm hoping it was almost organic. That, I mean, you could see both Ella and Kylie jabbing at the crowd, and just they know how to work. They know how to work in the ring. They know how to physically draw reaction and emotion out of a crowd, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, you hit on my last point. I want to just like, when a new tag team comes in, the eyes are on them. Let's not forget about how good the champs were and are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all three of Pretty Empowered are great. Like, I maintain that Jeremy, that Ella Envy is the overall star of Pretty Empowered. Like, she's the total package when it comes to, like the mic work. Like, in the ring, she's got that Mike Shark screaming kind of energy, right? She can wrestle, she can sell. I don't know. I mean, she's over the top and fun, but Kylie not far behind, man. Like, they are good. They are good at this.
They're very, very good at this. And it's scary, right? Because they're, by all accounts, they shouldn't be this good for as young as they are and at the position that they are in the wrestling totem pole. In the grand scheme of things, the NWA is way down here.
Right.
And they're they're knocking it out of the park like they're main eventing WWE events. You know.
Yeah.
I don't see them being around for too long. I really don't. The fact that they haven't been at least picked up for a developmental thing yet is kind of odd to me. But I give them maybe two more years in the NWA before they're off to bigger, greener pastures, and they'll be the better for it if they hang around for that 2 years, because they do get a lot of camera time.
They do. There's not enough tag teams in that division, so
yeah.
Give who 2 more years? She's talking about Pretty Empowered. Yeah. Yeah. They talked about Aaron and CJ are going to have a match, Dave, coming up next week. I think it's like a turkey gobbler match or something like that.
I mean, I understand it's the holidays, but why does everything have to be so gimmicky?
Yeah.
Just let's have a match, or I don't know, a battle of wits. If it's not going to be, I really don't want a intergender match. So let's have a battle of wits. And that was one of the best things. I mean, Aaron said it years ago when he was Damian Sandow. He's like, I refuse to have a battle of wits with an unarmed person.
Right.
And I just rolled when I heard that. And I'm like, man. But it's one of these things of, I'm glad CJ is finally, hopefully, able to get in the ring and do something. But this is where I could see Aaron going, oh, yeah, we're going to have a battle, but it's not with me. And he introduces a female blunt force trauma victim.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that. I think that's a great idea.
That you bring in somebody and be like, okay, you're going to be the latest victim of blunt force trauma. Here's our new member, wrestler, female wrestler X or whatever.
Right.
And they come out with a mask on.
Genocide. How about that? She's got the frame for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, just it's one of these things. If you've seen CJ wrestle, you know she can wrestle, and it pains me that they do not use her in the ring. And if it comes to bringing in a female member for blunt force trauma, then they can actually have a mixed 6 tag, and the girls can go at it, and then the guys can go at it.
Right.
And they can build a storyline of climbing the ladder to try and go after those belts. But it's I want a drawn out storyline, but I'm also anxious for them to get things rolling. So I want things to happen. But then I'm like, well, they've taped 4 weeks. They have a couple tapings coming up, couple events. We'll see what happens. And hopefully in January, there's a decent Hard Times. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but hopefully there's a Hard Times pay-per-view come January.
Yeah, and they announced that there will be, just not the date yet, right?
Yep.
Look, for CJ, Aaron Stevens, I think, to echo Mike in the chat there, I think it'll be fine because it'll be comedy. I think what'll happen is that Aaron will, if he does get in the ring with her, he'll beat the crap out of CJ, and then she'll do one of those surprise comebacks, like he can't believe that she's beating the snot out of him, and he'll end up wearing that turkey suit or whatever, and it'll be what it is. I hope it's more than that, but I mean, it's a bit silly. We get the spectacular bits, guys. So they're looking for a new spectacular, of course. Mercurio is applying for the job. Paul Burchill, I went like, what?
Right?
What? I'm like, okay, I guess. And
Pirate Paul. Yep.
Pirate Paul, and then Mr. Midas. I do not know. Do not know at all. Never seen the guy before. And Casey Rocks, Aaron Stevens' former intern, for lack of a better term. That was throughout the night. We saw two at a time. I don't know. What did you guys think of the thing? Like, what did you think of Birchill? What did you think of the whole Star Search kind of thing that they did? I loved watching Rush Freeman eat shit from Billy. That just made me laugh. Like, is this his new character? The stuff we see on social media is now going to be on TV? I don't know. What did you guys think of the segment? What did you think, Jeremy?
It was interesting. I like that they brought Birchill out and Rush got in the. So let's talk about your cosplaying. Let's just get this out there. I want to talk about the cosplay.
Right.
I like that they alluded back to Pirate Paul, as Dave said. The Midas guy, who the hell is he? Who has he ever be? I have no idea who that guy was, and he just kept saying the same thing over and over. It felt. It was. I could see that where they were trying to go with it, but it landed kind of flat with me.
Yeah, I thought it could have been done a lot better. Like, you could have had some ridiculous choices come out.
Yeah.
Like, like, okay, next up, it's Max the Impaler.
Yeah.
You could have had her, them come out with a bow tie and just like start screaming, like, and them going, whatever. I mean, something along those lines. You could have done something I thought was better and presented it better. What did you think, Dave?
I mean, for what it wasn't bad. I did chuckle a couple times. It could have been edited a lot cleaner, I thought. But when I first saw it, all I could think of was auditioning for the Cadbury egg commercial.
Right.
And I'm okay. This is going to be something that has a little comedy to it. Let's see where it goes. But I could see them stretching this out, and okay, they get a new member. That member does okay, gets a couple wins for the team, and then decides, hey, I've done all the work, move on. Next season, they try out another member for the Spectaculars, and it's basically that it keeps going, and that's the role that Rush falls into unless they decide to give Rush a push and bring his significant other in who actually does cosplay as China.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that'd be fun. There's Devin Dowling says Talos should be a new member. Can you imagine? Rush is the average size guy at that point. Max doing the Chippendales bit. The Saturday Night Live Chris Farley Chippendales bit.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I don't know. I was okay with it. It was, look, on the downside, lowlights for me, I thought Troop looked clunky, awkward, and I when he lost a submission match, I just said, put a fork in that guy.
Yeah,
he's done. I know he wins on last night. Just what a waste of a great look. I had so many high hopes for Troop. I'm sure he can come along somewhere, but unless he's just a bodyguard type for Chris Silvio, or he's tagging up again with somebody else who can, show him how this sport is done, get him off my screen. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of Troop, Jeremy?
Get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
I don't. I he's got a decent look, but as soon as he opened his mouth, I was done with him. That very first time he did the bang bang, like it was just like, no.
Yeah.
I hope that he's gone very soon.
Yeah, just I don't know. You get a guy who looks like a superstar. You guys remember back in the WWF days when they had that guy that Vince McMahon went all in on and he couldn't wrestle? I can't remember his name. He was the new Hogan. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, but there was just nothing there, and that's what this reminds me of. Like he's got nothing for me. What about you, Scooby?
I mean, square peg, round hole.
Yeah,
he's there, but nothing seems to click. And I mean, nothing personal unless they decide to go with a Mutt and Jeff tag team and have Silvio wrestle, do some tagging with him to either build up and give the U.S. tag team, give it a shot. At least there's a couple teams that the Immortals could go after, and that'd be one of them. But I don't see him moving forward. But who knows what the NWA is thinking.
He's an MMA guy.
Tom McGee. Look up Tom McGee. Tom McGee. Thank you for saying Sid. He not dissimilar, but Tom McGee, guys. That's who he reminds me of. Matthew Underwood said, sorry, Troop is not being developed properly, in my opinion. Perfectly said, Scooby. Willie agrees. Troop reminds me of Josh Woods, an athlete that needs to find his inner entertainer.
Yep.
He needs to learn so much before he gets put on TV again. I don't know. Send him to Exodus. Send him to wherever, Florida, Tennessee, whatever happens. Just, I don't know, keep him off power for a year or so. Anyway.
Josh Barnett, MLW catch style, that would have worked great for him.
Yeah. By the way, the look on Chris Silvio's face during the entrance was so weird. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but Troop is doing his and Silvio's like, was very, very odd. But neither here nor there. Big Mama's on next week's show. That's fun. I kind of wish it was ODB, but no disrespect to Big Mama.
Right.
We'll see what goes on there. I don't know. Like, did Talos look amazingly fit when he came out in his entrance and for his match? Like, he looked bigger than ever. He
looked different.
Yeah.
Completely. Without Daisy right there, it was kind of what's the word? I was kind of awestruck by him.
Right.
Like the first time I saw him in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I was just like, holy shit, that guy's taller than the ring. He had that feel again.
Yeah, he didn't look thin. He didn't look fat. He just looked right where he was supposed to be, and I mean, he was impressive. Like, I thought it was one of his best matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, for Big Mama from Glow, no, not that Big Mama.
Big Mama from Derby City.
Yeah.
And I'm sure other places, but
if you're on Twitter, she's at Big Bad Mama 06. I guess there's a bunch of them. Been on UWN programming, as James H. Jackson also points out. Talos lost weight. It's getting serious. Makes you think Talos may be getting scouted. Of course. I would agree. He looks huge.
Yeah.
he had a terrible choke on EC3 with the ropes. EC3 was like pulling the rope into his own throat. I'm like, nah, this is dumb. I just gotta say, as a little bit of a low light, I hate that face plant finisher of his, the 1%er. It's dumb. Stop doing it. Just EC3 could pick me up, spin me around 6 ways to Sunday, break me in half. There's no doubt about it. He couldn't make me eat that canvas with that fit. Yeah. It wouldn't happen.
No.
No. Willie wants Rush Freeman gone. No, Willie. No, we need to turn Rush into this character.
Give it a little bit of time, Willie. The guys over at This Is the NWA podcaster may be onto something. Rush Freeman may be a serial killer, so he could be gone before too long legally.
Oh my God. I didn't listen to that. Was that something? Who came up with that on that show? Is that Danny Deal?
Kyle and Joe.
Oh, really?
And they are very, and Rush is kind of leaning into it. Apparently, at some point in his childhood, Rush caught something on fire and killed a small animal or something.
Oh,
it
my
was
God.
all accidental, but they don't think that it was really an accident. They think that the reason why he moves so much is to stay one step ahead of the law.
That's hilarious. James J. Jack says, we need bow ties in the NWA merch store. It depends. It depends who the new spectacular is. If it's Paul Burchill, okay, I'm in.
If it's that Midas dude, no.
No. Big Chris Dog, question: the X Pro show is less than 2 weeks away. Hardly a mention. That's true. There is hardly a
course
mention.
too, though.
Yeah,
with the NWA.
What's that?
It's kind of par for the course with the NWA too, though.
Yeah,
they'll say something about it maybe a week before.
I do have a couple of overlays because Robarts is this weekend. That's Saturday. That's the taping for Power, where EC3 defends against Jack Sting.
Yep.
And I saw this online. This is Fight the World, who many people whispering believe, will become see if I can get this over here. We'll figure it out. Yeah, one of the territories, perhaps, which has La Brava Escobar, who we've seen before, with Samantha Starr, taking on Natalia Markova and Camille as a tag team. And that's November 17th, which is this Friday. Interesting. We do have the William Patrick Corgan announcement on the 2nd with Joe Kazana Promotions. So there's been a few things, but yeah, I have not seen any of that stuff as Chris points out promoted yet. But like you say, Jeremy, it just doesn't seem to happen that way. I feel like I can on the screen manipulate myself to where Effy's body is am I doing it? Am I close? There you go. Where are we? So that was the high points, low points. Anything more you guys want to add about that show? All right. Hearing nothing, I'll move on. Hey, Sam Laterna's gone from MLW. Any word on where she is? Dave, is she over an Impact or what?
I'm not sure. She has been posting on Twitter that she is available for interview work. I'd like to see her moved. I'd like to see the NWA use her more. I'm not sure. Nothing against May, but May is an interview. As an interviewer, she's a character.
Yeah.
She needs to go back to being a character on the wrestling show and not split it up between being one or the other. So I'd move her possibly into maybe a managerial position.
Right.
And not that she has to talk for somebody, but she can run interference during matches.
Yeah.
And ideally, I mean, if she has such a hard feelings against Aaron, find a tag team to manage and go after blunt force trauma and the belts. That way you could bring Sam in as an interviewer. And for some reason, I mean, Sam still has the personality, but she's basically a live mic stand.
Yeah.
And that's what you like about her,
Right.
that she's able to ask the questions and then step back and just hold the mic.
Yeah, she doesn't like May eats up the scenery, as they say, right?
Yeah.
She's very much all eyes on me. That's just who she is. And Sam, who's also beautiful, just like you say, live mic stand. That's really good. Which one do you like better, Jeremy? You like May or you like Sam? If you had to pick one. Got to make a budget cut. Which one are you gonna keep?
I would keep Sam in the backstage interview role.
Yeah.
And we talked about this after the wedding segment, that, like Dave said, that would have been a great time to bring her into a managerial role for a tag team. And now you really don't have anything preventing you from doing that, because you have someone that you could bring in to replace May and bring May in as a manager now, because
Right.
she does eat up that backstage. It naturally happens.
It's true.
Guys, I just had a thought. Speaking of the wedding that happened, what happens if there was a prenup that was signed, and due to them not getting married, she goes after Aaron and what Aaron owns, and that is BFT, blunt force trauma.
I fucking love that.
Oh my God, Dave!
It's basically it's almost the reverse of what happened with Doom. Doom started out with Woman,
Yeah,
and then moved to Teddy Long.
Teddy Long. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this way, I mean, you could flip flop. Then Aaron would have to find another tag team to go after what he just lost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, have a match where if he wins, he gets I almost said Doom. He gets BFT back, but if she wins, I don't know. She gets whatever tag team he's got now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It was a fun episode overall. It was good times. I enjoyed it. Hey, listen, let's switch and let's talk about some United Wrestling Network in a segment we call Championship Wrestling from
I
Germany.
need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
So, before we get to David Marquez's announcement about the return of UWN programming, I do have a screenshot I can throw up. What's going on around the UWN this past week?
This past week, we got almost 2 hours worth of UWN programming. We got a recap or a vault episode that started off with my match of the week with the Young Bucks versus the Axel Bros. It was not my match of the week. I will never put the Young Bucks in a match of the week.
You don't like the Young Bucks at all?
At all.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Get rid of the fucking bell bottoms. It's not 1974.
Okay.
And the mutton chops. Go bald.
Yeah, just cut it off.
Yeah. Their whole gimmick is just cringe to me. I can't stand it. But it was an overall good match. Then right after, or good show. Right after that, we got the red carpet rumble from this past red carpet rumble. That saw shit. I just completely went blank.
I didn't watch it, but Denny Limelight Moose, I think, was in that one, right?
Yes. That's where Invictus Cash and Jordan Clearwater had their split and everything. Overall, it was really good. I enjoyed it. We're still going to get some more of this going forward. To go into what Tim alluded to at the beginning of the segment, 5 days ago, was it? Yes, 5 days ago, Dave Marquez posted on his Facebook page, mark your calendar and put it on your Christmas wish list. December fucking 17th, year 16 begins. Long Beach, California. Carton ticket info to follow.
Liked by Timmy Grind, Jason Gaelic, Big Chris Dog, and 182 brother.
I was number 187.
Were you? Oh, nice. There you go.
Right? Made me feel like homicide for a moment.
Looking forward to this because it's been a minute since we saw championship wrestling back. No mention of Derby.
No.
And I was clicking Mr. Marquez's links today on his Facebook page. The Arizona ones, of course, are long gone. They don't work anymore. I don't see Derby have any more activity than anywhere else in the UWN right now, which has been August, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, here's James H. Jackson. Thank God UWN is back in good wrestling, booking a long-term story. Lions are coming back. Damn, I am happy to have great wrestling coming back. All of us are, my friend. Crazy.
There's a lot that I can skip through the week wrestling wise. UWN was not one of them. UWN got watched as soon as it dropped.
Right. What happened in Memphis this week, dog?
I have no idea.
Come on, dog.
I honestly, I didn't watch it. I did have it on, but I was playing with my granddaughter and hanging out with her. And
Tim Grind, man, Tim Grind, dog. He had a no holds barred match with Louis or Steve or whatever the big one name from the posse is.
Simon.
And his son, Lester or Lance.
Lance.
Yeah, Lance turned on the posse and rejoined his dad, dog. Yeah, it was just, I don't know, heartwarming. He's trying to keep it down right now. It hasn't been good in a while over in
No, it hasn't. I love Memphis wrestling. That's what I grew up with. That was my territory. That was the territory that my hometown sat in, was Memphis. So it pains me to sit here and go, yeah, I ain't got nothing. I didn't watch it. It really does. But there's just, if I'm going to tell you this is a match of the week, I want it to be match of the week worthy. I don't want you coming back to me and being like, the hell was that dog shit that you tried to shove down my throat? I knew that this was match of the week worthy. That was horrible. I'm not going to do that to anybody in here.
Listen, before you wish terrible things on us if we're not watching UWN, can I just say this about Memphis? I very much, as a red-blooded North American male, enjoyed looking at Maria Starr. I would like her to no longer be allowed to speak in the booth, please. Sorry. So sorry. I mean, no real disrespect, but she's not. She doesn't say anything.
Seen and not heard.
Sound like my dad.
Here lately, I've been wondering if she's been hitting the edibles before she puts on the headset.
She's just doesn't have much to. Yeah, get that other guy back in there. What's his name?
Terrence Ward.
Yeah, get that guy in there. He's great. There you go. Bingo, Jeremy.
And she used to be good. I think she'd rather be home. They've got a 3-year-old son. I honestly, I think she's kind of checked out of the wrestling thing now.
Well, yeah, it's either that or she's bored with the product right now. I don't know.
I can't say it's a blamer.
She had a great Macho Man outfit on the other for Halloween, though.
Let's see. I'll have to go back and watch that one then.
There you go. All right, so if we're not watching UWN, then what?
If you're not watching the UWN,
you gotta make one up. May the flies of 1,000 camels infest your armpits.
Ooh, that's horrible, Tim. Why would you do that? No.
That's from MASH.
If you're not watching the UWN, may your socks never be changed.
That's pretty good too. I'll give you that one. If you're not watching the UWN, it's okay. There are many others that for the past 2 episodes, more like the past 8 or 10, maybe. It just, yeah. I don't know. All right, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Let's go now over and do some fantasy booking around the NWA with Dave Scooby, fantasy booker, in a segment we call "I Respect You, Booker Man." So, what to do with Joe Alonzo, and where's America's jawline, Dave?
Well, first off, America's Jawline, Jamie Stanley, was not at Samhain. At one time, he was, quote unquote, the manager for both Colby and Joe Alonzo. He recently had a tryout at the PC, so he's possibly NXT, WWE bound, but no news is good news. So I'm hoping he just asked off for some time. He's a decent wrestler, good as a manager, but Alonzo really doesn't need a manager unless it's someone to be on the outside and run interference during matches. So, best of luck wherever he may land to Jamie Stanley. But Joe Alonzo, while I think he and Colby had one of the better matches at Samhain, by doing so, I think the NWA shot their load.
Yeah.
He has nowhere else to go. He has to be rebuilt. Now, my thought is either have him basically shadow Colby wherever Colby goes, and whatever wrestlers Colby wrestles, have Joe Alonzo wrestle as well, so he proves that he's worthy of a second chance at the title. But I'd either send him to Exodus Pro. They do have some shows coming up. They have a show coming up in December. JCP also has a show. And I'm hoping JCP will be the second territory for the NWA. But Alonzo is from Chicago, so is there a possibility of a territory for the NWA in the Chicago area? That way he doesn't have to leave his home territory, his home promotion, but him being with the NWA, if they're actually going to have monthly shows, build him up.
Right.
Have him wrestle as much as you can, whether it be against former opponents, like I said, of Colby's, or wrestle on the matches and just show up during the Colby match and interfere. So Colby does get the win, but he doesn't get a pin. So it's one of these things that if he goes after the former opponents, he can say, you've beat them, I've beat them. Now give me a chance again at that belt because you don't deserve it. Now, if Colby is given a chance at going back to NXT, WWE, they need to let him do what he's doing right now. Just run wild with that belt. Any indies he can go to, I'd love to see Colby build it up. Colby's one of these guys that, if you don't know who his father is, Steve Corino, just Google Steve Corino and go to YouTube and watch some of his matches.
I didn't ask the question earlier. I was gonna, but do you think Colby's better than Steve now?
I'm not sure. Colby has everything it takes to be as good as his father, with the exception of the size.
Right.
He's a great junior heavyweight. If he's able to put on a little more weight, I know he's not going to grow anymore height-wise, but you don't always have to be big and bad to have a championship.
Right.
So, I mean, I could see him possibly doing the junior heavyweight and maybe a TV title, but it all depends. If he were a little bigger, I could see him going after maybe a national championship down the line. And depending on who holds the 10 pounds of gold, he could always be a contender, but maybe not a champion per se of the 10 pounds of gold. But size-wise, he's great as a junior heavyweight. And like I said, maybe a TV champion.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see Alonzo finally beat Colby if Colby does end up going to WWE down the line. But you need to have Alonzo beat Colby one way or another, even if it's by hook or crook, in a non-title match. So it always puts that doubt in your head of, well, hell, maybe Colby could lose, and he was lucky that this wasn't for the title, that it was a chance at going after that title.
Right.
So it's one of these things of Joe is so good at what he does. He definitely should be a future junior heavyweight, if not a TV champion as well, because he's somebody that you want to see defeated time and time again. He's just the snarky, I know it all, and he's only been wrestling for who knows how many years, but he's definitely not a veteran, but he walks the walk and he talks the talk. He's smarmy. So it's one of these things of you need to build him back up, because right now, unless they bring in wrestlers like Mo or have some of the undercard actually step up and go after that junior heavyweight belt. I mean, I'd love to see Alex Taylor go after that belt, or even Kerry go back after the belt, but it looks like they want to go for tag team. So we'll see what happens, but you always want to have a good contender and then somebody as a backup that you can always fall back on. It's one of these things of just like this coming weekend, there were people going, well, why is Jax getting a chance at the 10 pounds of gold? Well, he's one of those wrestlers that in case of emergency break glass. You insert him in any way, in any storyline, that needs help. Matt Cardona is wrestling for MLW this weekend, so he's unable to be at that event. So it's one of these things of, okay, in that case, let's insert wrestler A in this spot until the other wrestler returns.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Alonzo has that capability that he can be put basically anywhere and tell a good story.
I agree. And he's perfect for the role. Like, here's something that Matthew Underwood said. There shouldn't be one dominant champion in the juniors. The push should be the best junior division in the States. Like WCW did back in the 90s. When I had given up on WW, was it F still then? I guess they'd changed probably. At that point, I went. The reason I watched WCW were the juniors.
Yep.
You know, like everybody from Dean Malenko to Chris Jericho, and Psychosis and all the luchadors and Ray and Eddie and everything was amazing. And that title did flip around a fair bit, and it was fun to watch. Matthew has AT, Joe, Mo, Jabari, Fuego del Sol, Silvio. So I think that would be a great idea as well. Joe Alonzo's really like, almost the total package. I don't know how big he is. Like you were saying, like, maybe Colby's, not at Steve's level because he's got to be, I don't know, 5 inches shorter.
Yeah.
Steve Carino's taller than you think he is, I think. So, like, he was a 6'2", I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think 6'1" or 6'2".
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I think there's some good direction there. I have heard that Jamie Stanley, like you mentioned, had that tryout, but we never heard that he got hired.
Yeah.
But they don't always tell us, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping no news is good news. I'd love to have him back. He plays a good part as a manager, but he can also wrestle, which is a very good thing. He can do several segments. If somebody doesn't show up, he can always step into the ring. But it's one of these things of Alonzo has so much ahead of him. I'm very curious as to how far he can go in the NWA before somebody does snatch him up. But I also had a thought of, since they both sort of have big mouths and they like to talk crap on each other, instead of a hair match, have a mustache match. The loser loses the mustache.
That'd be great.
But who knows? I mean, that's just me doing stupid thinking.
Well, they did that a few episodes ago in Memphis with Uncle Mikey, who's just Mikey now, I guess. They shaved his mustache off when I guess he lost to, I don't know, whatever cousin or, I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. So it wouldn't be a precedent, but that would be fun. Great. Thank you so much. Any more comments that I missed here? You were being nice, Mike. I appreciate it. If you're not watching UWN, it's okay. Many others aren't watching the past 2 episodes. This one was good too. James H. Jackson, if you were not watching the UWN, may you watch Tyrus matches on repeat for life. And on that note, Lou says, my buddy Lou, have Joe lose his stash, but make him keep the beard.
Yeah.
So my son wants me to do. He wants me to shave just here, just have like the mustache. My wife would not appreciate that. All right, guys, that's it for us. Let's get out of here. Jeremy, tell us where they can find you on social media, my friend.
You can find me on Twitter at HJWOTS and on Threads at Championship Wrestling Jeremy.
And Dave, how about you?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter, X, and Instagram. Also at Dave Scooby, followed by the number 1 over on TikTok.
I am at the Alliance Gold on everything. Most importantly, alliance-wrestling.com is your number 1 source for all NWA information and entertainment. Thank you guys for being here. Also at the Alliance blog on all the socials. Tomorrow night, you got Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You got the Alliance guys with J. Cal, DKM, and Jaden. They'll be on for a couple hours. I'm sure they'd love it if you were all here. Every Tuesday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, Jay does the pre-party, that hour before Power, where he tells you what's coming up on the show. The Lemmy, that's what it is. It's the Lemmy. Just shut right here and just sit in front of the camera like this. This is our new thumbnail right now. The number 1 source for
Number 1 source.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it, and thank you for being here. And until next time, if you're hot, you're hot. And if you're not...
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.